This image appeared on Earth almost an hour after it was taken. Its author was not a human, nor even a satellite in orbit. The photographer was on the surface of another world. Before you is the first real photograph in history, taken by a probe from the surface of a distant planet. But the most amazing thing is not how it looks, but what the engineers had to go through to get this shot.
Space travel can rightfully be considered the most popular topic in science fiction. Just imagine a world where our technology allows us to travel through space at the speed of light. That is approximately 299,792,458 meters per second. Where could we go, and how quickly would we reach our destination? Let's assume we have light speed technology. How quickly could we reach different parts of the known universe? And what could we do during the flight? The moon. The distance to the moon can be covered in 1.28 seconds. You won't even have time to blink. Venus? We'll cover this distance in 2.2 minutes, Venus. Maybe in that time the water in your kettle will boil. Mars? In 3 minutes you can make yourself some tea, but having a tea party is unlikely. Mercury. 4.5 minutes and you're in the blazing inferno on Mercury. Well, at least there's a wonderful view of the sun here. The sun. Relax, have a cup of coffee, and read a few articles from a magazine in 8 minutes. Jupiter. One episode of your favorite cartoon series in 32.6 minutes will pass in an instant. Saturn. Rewatch the last episode of Game of Thrones. You have about 1 hour to watch and be upset about the series finale. Uranus. Watch one of the movies from the Lord of the Rings trilogy or a couple of episodes of Game of Thrones. You have a whole 2 hours and 25 minutes. Neptune? Almost 5 hours. Imagine you're on a train. Subtitle editor, Semkin. Proofreader, Pluto. 5 hours. Listen to music, do some drawing, or just get some sleep. Proxima Centauri. 4.2 years. You've got plenty of time. Start a family, change a few jobs. The Andromeda Galaxy. 6.095 times 10 to the 7th power years. That's a huge amount of time. Dinosaurs went extinct about 65 million years ago. So that's just a bit longer than the time it would take to travel at the speed of light to the Andromeda Galaxy. The edge of the known universe, 11.3 times 10 to the 11th power years. It's hard to imagine, but this number is several times greater than the age of our galaxy. But we remember that the speed of light is still a theoretical value. Unfortunately, humanity does not possess such technology. Even if we seriously improve our knowledge of physics, chemistry, and astronomy, we will most likely have to study our solar system at a very slow pace. The moon. Just 3 days. It may seem like a short time, but we all remember that the moon is very close and is the natural satellite of our planet. Besides, humanity already has experience landing on the moon. On July 24, 1969, American astronauts, members of the Apollo 11 mission, for the first time in history, looked at Earth from the surface of another world. Venus. Wait 15 months and you will find yourself on one of the most inhospitable planets in our solar system. Mars. The flight to Mars will take about 7 months, but this period can increase depending on how far the red planet is.
Jupiter.
Perhaps the importance of the gas giant for the future of humanity seems questionable, but there is a great deal of interest in Jupiter's moons. The journey to Europa will take approximately 6 years, as demonstrated by NASA's Galileo probe. Mercury. The American Interplanetary spacecraft Messenger reached Mercury in 6.5 years. Its flight ended in 2015, and the spacecraft crashed onto the surface of the scorching planet, Saturn. The Cassini unmanned interplanetary spacecraft reached Saturn and even explored some of its moons over 7 years. The spacecraft was launched in 1997 and approached Saturn's moons in 2004. Interestingly, the lander called Huygens successfully landed on the surface of Titan at that time. After all its scientific achievements, the spacecraft made several orbital corrections around Saturn, and on September 15, 2017, it entered its atmosphere to remain there forever. Uranus. The Voyager spacecraft reached Uranus in about 8.5 years. Neptune? Do you want to go to Neptune? It will take you 12 years. It was after meeting Neptune that the Voyager 2 spacecraft deviated from its course. Now its path lies beyond the solar system.
Pluto.
The New Horizons spacecraft reached Pluto in about 9.5 years. So, the journey to the edge of the solar system will take us about 40 years and about 80,000 years to the nearest star, Proxima Centauri. The mission to the Andromeda Galaxy will last 749 million years. And what about the journey to the edge of the known universe? Scientists can only theoretically estimate the number at 225 trillion years. It's a pity that we still can't overcome the speed of light barrier. How are we supposed to study the planets of our system or even neighboring star systems if we're so limited in our means of traveling through space? There is hope for the scientists of the future. Who else but them will help turn the universe into a real superluminal highway? Back in 1997, the Cassini spacecraft was launched from Earth. Its journey led through darkness and silence to the gas giant Saturn, girdled with colorful rings. It was only in 2004 that the goal was reached, and the work of collecting data, planned by Earth's astronomers, began. Years have passed, and now Saturn's only artificial satellite is close to death. Many people wish to lift the veil of the future and find out when the final hour of their existence will come. But the creators of Cassini made that decision for the spacecraft back at the end of the last century, before the probe was launched. The fateful event is scheduled for September 15, 2017. So what did the legendary spacecraft manage to accomplish during this time? While studying Saturn, its rings and moons, Cassini discovered a lot of interesting details that would have been impossible to see any other way. Extraterrestrial lakes. For example, on Titan, Saturn's largest moon, the probe saw methane lakes. To this day, it's the only place in the solar system where such unusual bodies of liquid have been found. Aside from Earth, of course. Asteroid ice. On a small asteroid-like moon called Phoebe, Cassini detected white spots that looked very much like ice. But these are the most trivial discoveries. The strangest and most inexplicable were the so-called spokes in Saturn's rings and the sounds of the planet. Saturnian spokes. As for the first, it refers to mysterious bands about 100 kilometers wide and roughly 20,000 kilometers long that cross the giant's rings. Moreover, they appeared with a strange periodicity. They were seen by the Voyagers as they flew past Saturn in the early 80s. However, during the period from 1998 to 2004, the spokes were not observed. 30 leading specialists from many world powers tried to explain the mystery of the instantly appearing and just as quickly disappearing structures and their origins. Astronomers believe that the most powerful Saturnian lightning, which has no analogs on Earth, is responsible for this. In their opinion, bundles of electrons crash into the structure of the rings, which provokes the appearance of strange elongated stripes. Many questions remain unanswered in this theory, but it is currently the only explanation for this phenomenon. By the way, one of these catastrophic events, a lightning bolt stretching almost across the entire planet, was captured by Cassini during its grand mission. Where does the sound come from? The second strange phenomenon is the sounds produced by the giant gas sphere. These are radio signals that, according to scientists, illustrate the complex rotation system of Saturn. The planet's poles generate the radio waves. The sounds are indistinguishable to the human ear, but Cassini converted them so they could be heard. The sounds resemble either the howl of wind in the desert or an indistinct chant with eerie, extraneous elements. In addition to what has been mentioned, the probe discovered many new small moons, most likely captured by the planet's powerful gravity, as well as a gigantic hexagon measuring about 25,000 kilometers across. This is the so-called giant hexagon, a localized hurricane. Earthlings have been observing this phenomenon with spacecraft for more than a quarter of a century, starting with the first Voyager mission. Cassini examined the structure in more detail. It's a titanic vortex, swirling in a hellish dance at the planet's north pole. Its regular geometric shape, unusual for earthly vortices, puzzled scientists for a long time. But still, it was possible to recreate a similar phenomenon in laboratory conditions. Its cause is believed to be the different wind speeds inside the impressive structure. In its last months, Cassini studied Enceladus, discovering molecular hydrogen and other trace elements in the geysers of the icy planet, which indicates the presence of hydrothermal vents in the Enceladus ocean. Such an assumption leads to the hypothesis of bacterial life on the frozen moon. The spacecraft is now on the first of 22 orbits around the giant, which will end with a complete plunge and the death of the probe in Saturn's atmosphere. Scientists planned such an ending in order not to accidentally bring Earth bacteria to Saturn's moons. Because although the spacecraft was sterilized, such a scenario is still possible. During its farewell tour, Cassini will study the rings literally from the inside, flying just 300 kilometers from their inner edge. The photo report sent by the spacecraft is truly impressive. Terrifying storms, tiny moons against the titanic body of Saturn, bright structured rings wildly rushing around the planet, and most importantly, Earth, which twinkles like a distant, inconspicuous star in the inky sky of the gas giant. The mission is coming to an end, but progress is not, relentlessly. Someday, not the mechanical eyes of a robot, but living human eyes will see all this. The Hubble channel believes in the future. Join us. Today, let's talk about a man whose mission was to drastically change the life of Earth's civilization. Elon Musk is one of the few scientists who is so prolific with ideas that he literally amazes the public with his unconventional thinking. A genius looks at the world from a completely different angle. His statements and projects speak for themselves. For example, not so long ago, Elon told the press about his belief that Earth is a computer game simulation, and only the player decides when the artificial reality will end or change. Admit it, even if that's not the case, the audience's imagination has already been stirred. Billionaires are also concerned about environmental issues and the adoption of advanced technologies. This is evidenced by the Tesla electric car, the high-speed Hyperloop, the creation of global solar panels, the development of urban farming, and the development of Powerwall batteries, capable of freeing humanity from its energy dependence. Among other things, Musk has repeatedly stated that people are wrong to see his SpaceX solely as a way to visit outer worlds. These spacecraft could be put to good use here on our planet. For example, after taking off, you could visit places in half an hour that would normally take several times longer to reach. But, without a doubt, what excites the imagination of ordinary people the most is the future Martian colony and everything connected with it. Recently, Elon Musk presented a spacesuit and posted a photo of it on Instagram. The scientist stated that this is a working model, tested in vacuum conditions and subjected to double the pressure. Musk noted that it was very difficult to achieve both technological advancement and aesthetics in a single product. The suit was developed in collaboration with NASA, and the designer of the model was none other than the famous Hollywood artist Jose Fernandez. It was thanks to him that characters like Iron Man, Batman, and Spider-Man appeared on the screen. This is the very spacesuit that is planned to be used for astronauts who will fly on the Dragon spacecraft to the ISS. The suit is equipped with a comfortable helmet with a wide field of view, lightweight shoes, ergonomic gloves, and soft areas located in certain zones of the suit so that astronauts can move more freely. It is stated that this spacesuit is designed to save the astronaut's life in the event of depressurization of the spacecraft. But one spacesuit is not enough to go anywhere. That's why development has begun on the powerful reusable BFR rocket. Next comes a brief set of facts about the spacecraft, unlike anything in Earth's history. Dimensions. Its diameter is 12 meters, and its height is 122. Accuracy. The rocket won't need supports. The landing accuracy is so precise that the spacecraft lands directly into the launch mount. Composition. BFR consists of 2 stages. The first stage is reusable and can launch any type of modules into orbit, shuttles, refueling tankers, and so on. The second stage is the actual spacecraft, which has a pressurized compartment containing 40 passenger cabins, a dining area, and a storage room. Fuel. The spacecraft is equipped with 4 fuel tanks, 2 of which are placed separately and are specifically intended for landing on Mars. Engines. The rocket is equipped with Raptor engines that run on oxygen and methane. It is noteworthy that the spent fuel is not disposed of, but is fed back into the combustion chamber, releasing the remaining energy. Since there are 9 engines, the failure of any one of them won't make a difference. The spacecraft will still land successfully. Wings. The rocket is equipped with foldable wings made of solar panels. This is necessary for a proper landing on Mars. After reaching space, the module needs to be refueled because, due to the heavy load at launch, there will be no fuel left in it. A special tanker, launched into orbit by the same BFR rocket, is used for refueling. In 2022, it is planned to send 2 ships of this type to Mars. Each of them will carry 150 tons of cargo on board, but not a single person. And already in 2024, the first colonists will fly to the Red Planet. But only if the 2 previous missions accurately determine the amount of water available to the people from Earth. Do you think this is necessary so that the colonists don't die of thirst? Absolutely not. The first thing people will have to do on Mars is set up the process of extracting fuel, obtaining oxygen and methane from the atmosphere, and hydrogen, respectively, from water. The deadlines mentioned, of course, seem fantastic. Both 2022 and even 2024. Especially considering that it's only possible to launch from Earth to Mars once every 25 months because of how our planets line up. So the ships that are planned to be sent to Mars will have to accommodate 100 people each, plus a huge amount of cargo. After all, on the Red Planet, the colonists will have to build a real city with everything from steel mills to pizzerias. According to Musk, such a city will function perfectly and provide everything it needs with a population of 1 million people. Next comes some simple calculations. If a single ship traveled between Earth and Mars every 2 years, it would need to make 10,000 flights to transport 1 million people to Mars. However, SpaceX plans to build 1,000 such ships. Thus, the population of the neighboring planet will reach 1 million within 40 to 100 years after the first flight. And according to Musk, it's not that far away. How long will the flight take? A flight at a speed of 6 kilometers per second will take 80 days. In the future, though, the time will be reduced to about 30 days. Just think about it. A trip to a neighboring planet will fit into a standard vacation. The journey should be fun and interesting. That's why the crew and passenger compartments should be designed so you can play in zero gravity, literally float in the air. There will be movies, lecture halls, cabins, and a restaurant. It's going to be a lot of fun. Elon Musk is luring us to the red planet. But still, the creation of the BFR is an unprecedented event in human history. No one has ever flown with 9 engines before. No one has ever landed with such precision. No one has reused a rocket several times. And most importantly, no Earthling has ever left the planet for a long time or gone as far away from it as is planned for the colonization of Mars. The public has mixed opinions. Some are skeptical, some are enthusiastic, but Musk is completely confident in success. This extraordinary man says that there will be factories, residential neighborhoods, and pizzerias on Mars relatively soon. Most likely, all of this will be located underground, since the level of radiation would kill the inhabitants of such areas on the surface in a short time. Scientists are not just mindlessly excited, but also warn that the risk of the first flight is deadly dangerous, although they assure that Mars is not the worst place to die. Most likely we will hear about new ideas from this progressive person more than once. It's worth remembering that Columbus was also considered a madman in his time. The world around us is not simple even at first glance. And if you try to delve even a little into the nuances of how it works, it becomes clear that we know almost nothing about it. Accordingly, there are many theories about the origin of the universe as we know it. Among others, the most exotic and difficult to understand is string theory. It is based on the combination of quantum mechanics and the theory of relativity, whose laws in traditional physics differ significantly and often contradict each other. Simply put, the particles of matter in the universe are divided into fermions, electrons, neutrinos, and similar particles, and bosons. So, according to this theory, these particles of matter and their relatives from the boson group arise precisely because of the vibrations of ultra-microscopic cosmic strings, which are 1 billion times smaller than a proton, scattered throughout space. Their formations travel through space at speeds greater than the speed of light, which is basically impossible from the point of view of orthodox science. Physicists explain this by saying that the strings are made up of tachyons, particles with imaginary mass, and experimental proof of their existence is unlikely even in the distant future. Great hopes are placed on string theory, since it is considered a candidate for the long-sought theory of everything, which Einstein worked on for decades. But while everything looks quite elegant in mathematical terms, in practice, problems arise. It turns out that in the familiar 4-dimensional space, string theory doesn't work. In order for the pieces to fit together, you need between 10 and 26 dimensions. For us, who see everything in 3 dimensions on the map of time, it's almost impossible to imagine. Where do the other dimensions go, say 6 of them, if there are 10 in total? According to string theory, they can disappear from our view in hundreds of billions of ways. What does that mean in reality? It means that there are an infinite number of universes around us, each with different characteristics, physical laws, sizes, and so on, but they do not interact with our world. For example, in one of them there might be 2 time vectors. Imagine a 2-dimensional temporal event. That's madness from the perspective of a person living in our world. We assume that time is a ray that leads from the past to the future, and only the present really exists. But the theory of everything implies the reality of the past, the future, and the present. It's just that people see only a certain segment, as if picked out of the darkness by a flashlight beam. So if in some alternative universe there are 2 time axes, then an observer at their intersection would witness a unique phenomenon, a complete stop of time. So how do these trillions of universes come into existence? String theory explains this by saying that one-dimensional membranes, or multi-dimensional branes, as M-theory calls them, periodically collide, creating new worlds that are contained within the megaverse. But the most amazing thing isn't even that. It's the fact that if you imagine, for example, a 10-dimensional world, it should contain all possible physical laws and particles. Therefore, it is in the 10th dimension that strings vibrate in a measured way, periodically colliding. But that doesn't mean that a single string exists simultaneously in every universe out of the many trillions, including in our own world. Living with this knowledge is extremely difficult. While a person travels from the point called birth to the station called death, he is unable to stop thinking. This means that new theories will appear and disappear. And perhaps in someone's fevered imagination, the very one, the only correct theory, will arise. The one that explains the structure of the world clearly and simply, as all truly ingenious things are. The Hubble channel welcomes your comments, likes, and subscriptions, as well as your suggestions for the topics of future videos.